Well, this summer will most likely be a very important one for small business across the country, with many of them having been shut down last year for months, to now seeing the reopening impacted in some cases by not being able to find enough employees. The next few months could once again prove to be make or break for some of them. A free live webinar is going to be held that will focus on what small businesses should be focusing on as we head into the summer. It's going to be hosted by investor and entrepreneur Barbara Corcoran, who many of you know is one of the sharks on Shark Tank. That webinar, by the way, is titled Business Unusual with Barbara Corcoran, and a pleasure to have her joining us here today for a few moments. Barbara, thanks for your time today. Hope you're doing well.
My pleasure. And let me remind you, it's on demand. So whenever it's convenient for you, you tune into that webinar series, please, if you're an entrepreneur who wants to get a helping hand.
Well, certainly the last year and a half, it's been very unusual for small business. So as we're coming out of the pandemic right now, what are the areas you are focused on specifically around small business?
You know, every small business needs different kinds of help. I work with these people every day, but I'm finding that there are two major areas that I hear again and again, and I try to focus on myself. Number one is small business owners are not in a great emotional state right now. They came through the pandemic believing that if they hit that finish line and when the sun came back out, they would be fine and good to go. But what they're finding instead is they have a whole new set of problems. And the great majority of businesses do still rely on hourly workers to get their goods to the table, to manufacture what they need to ship out, to handle the packaging. And those workers are not to be found. That's the huge challenge, and also the surprise to every small business owner. So rather than thinking, yay, let's open our doors and welcome consumers in, we could actually get back to business unusual. What they're finding is they don't have the workforce to pull it out. And so for them, it's been a very discouraging time because they had a different expectation. And yet, once again, they have to struggle and try to think fast on their feet, offer incentives, compete with the next guy for the same worker. And it's been very, very challenging for them, both financially, of course, which they're accustomed to by now. But I think emotionally, it's been very draining, very draining.
So in terms of the webinar, what will you be bringing forward to people, to business owners as part of this series?
Well, the series, we're already on the 13th webinar, and you can catch all of those, as I said earlier, on demand. But the one we're doing today is going to focus on the customer. And the reason for that is it's the largest challenge to stay in tune with your customer. Try to find out really how that customer has changed and how you can serve them better. How do you engage them online? How do you not overstay your welcome when you're reminding them that you're there? And how to make them fall in love with you. And it is a love affair, and customers can be enormously loyal if you give them the opportunity to believe in your cause, believe in your service, like you as an individual. And so we're going to make it very upfront and personal today on how to get that customer coming back.
So I think the question off of that is, with the digital component we've seen impact business in general over the last several years, obviously during the pandemic as well. The question of that personal experience, I think, is brought up even more because you may not have as much of a personal experience digitally as you would if that person is coming into your store. How do small business owners deal with that part of it?
Well, most small business owners are very comfortable greeting their customer, getting a read on what they might purchase as they walk through the door. And that exact same person is totally uncomfortable thinking that going online can be personal at all. But technology has come to the point, and if you have trusted advisors, trusted suppliers, and you rely on your technology, then you can be as creative online as you can be individually. And my most successful businesses, I've invested in 80 some odd businesses on Shark Tank over the years. My most successful 5 totally switched to a digital platform that were never in that business at all. And they did that during the pandemic and more than doubled their business. So you can be personal online, but it's a certain gift and skill that you don't know, and you need to get from someone who knows how to do it.
And I also wonder whether or not the understanding of the ROI around digital is really there for a lot of businesses. They may see that investment, that outlay of making that investment in digital, and not truly understand that in this day and age, the return on that is going to be very, very good.
You know what? You are giving people too much credit. People are not that sophisticated who run small businesses. Not even me. It took me years to learn what ROI stood for, return on investment. Now I know. But no, most small businesses don't do that kind of analysis to what kind of return on investment am I making for each posting. They have no idea how to do it. And it's not important, honestly. What is important is that they do it. And if they don't have the talent themselves, they get some people in-house or go out outsourcing it. Please excuse me, outsourcing it to get the talent within their shop. So, you know, it's not so much about doing the analysis of the numbers in any business ever. That happens afterwards. What is so important is you put up the creative ideas that engage your customers and connect them and hook them in. And after that, the rest kind of takes care of itself.
We really don't have an idea over the course of this pandemic what the numbers say about small businesses that shut down for good. We have a kind of a feeling as to what they are. But the question is, now that we're on the backside of the pandemic, God willing, what do we still need to do to provide opportunities for those small business owners that had to shut down, but they still want to have their own business? It may not be the same business they had before. It may be something else that interests them, but we have to get them to that point, I think.
Well, in an ideal world, that would be wonderful. But I can tell you the people who have had to shut down after struggling for so long are beaten. They're beaten. They're not apt to start another whole business and, hey, let's do it again. They don't have the financial resources, nor do they have the energy. I think a more realistic goal is how do we get other people to now jump in and start new businesses and take their place? I know in my neighborhood where I live in Manhattan, 1/3 of everyone within, I'd say 5 city blocks, those businesses are closed. They're not opening again. They've been closed a while. However, only in the last 2 weeks, I've seen 2 construction jobs of one new shop and 1 new restaurant going in. Different name, different entrepreneur, but we're starting to see the birth of new businesses and new entrepreneurs coming into the field. But I do not believe we will see those same entrepreneurs back. They're working for someone else or they're collecting unemployment, one or the other.
Do you expect then that we are going to see a lot more entrepreneurship moving forward in terms of people just kind of coming into the space, having been maybe in the corporate setting and deciding, you know what, I have this great idea, I want to take it and make a run with it?
Yeah, we're actually going to address that in today's webinar series specifically because there are many people starting businesses all over again. It's like a new wave of young entrepreneurs, and it's great that we have that. And you know why? It's such a perfect timing for it is because everything's been redefined. You could get cheaper rents. You could get better loan practices. You can get customers that are open to, oh, what's new in town? And the customers are out in the street and actually going through shop doors. You hadn't had that before. And the customer expectation has totally changed. And I'm going to hopefully get people to think of their customer vastly different than they would have a year ago. And the new entrepreneurs to know that they have to be very much in tune with the new customer and what they expect in terms of security, service, instant gratification, and a whole ball of wax. So things have changed. And frankly, the new entrepreneur, in a way, because they have no memory of how they used to do it, are in a very good position to start defining exactly how it should be done.
Do you expect that loyalty that you talked about before, that can remain, and it does in many respects have to be a key component moving forward, but can it move quickly to really help grow businesses, even in this time where we're still, to a degree, dealing with the pandemic?
You have to have the relationship, whether it be with the old owner who's still in business or with the new owner that you're going to get to know. But what I can tell you is the storefront has changed forever. If you think that people are going to stop ordering online, it's just not going to happen. We've shifted our demand to online. We all have. We're all ordering more online. Will we go back to the stores? Of course, but the stores are going to be really storefronts, fronts to show small merchandise, smaller footprints, cheaper rents, so that people can actually stay in a storefront and afford the rent. And people will go in, there won't be supply there. If you want a size 12 instead of a 14, they might not have it, but they can ship it to you overnight and get it to you the next morning. And that's the new way that storefronts are going to be run. They're simply front windows for merchandise that's kept in a warehouse. But the issue still is, how do you find the people in the warehouse that are going to work for $10 an hour who are going to ship it out?
Yeah.
And that supply chain knot is the biggest challenge for everyone in small business today. We'll address that in today's Business Unusual seminar presented by AT&T Small Business, without a doubt, because that is what I most hear the complaints about day in and day out. How do I get my workers? What kind of incentives do I give them? Do I give them sign-up bonuses? Some people are starting to pay for college. People are being super creative to try to hook that worker back in to help them run their business.
Has it surprised you that we've kind of gone down this path in terms of all of these incentives that are being thrown out? Because I think pre-pandemic, I don't know if that was even a consideration in many cases.
Now, before the pandemic, the boss was the boss. The boss decided what he was going to pay and who he was going to hire. They were in charge. Since the pandemic, the workers in charge. It's been a total flip-flop that the bosses had to also adjust to. I thought I was the boss. No, you're not the boss. You've got to serve your people to bring them back and keep them here. And that's a whole different headset in running a business, but the smart people get it and they're making hay with it. And they're going to outcompete everybody around them and getting the best workers who are going to stay with them, without a doubt.
Barbara, we wish you all the best with the webinars and certainly hope they're a success. And thanks very much for your time today.
Terrific. They're all on demand. Make sure your people watch.
Barbara Corcoran joining us here on Wharton Business Daily.